Hey, real quick, make sure you subscribe, like, and follow this podcast anywhere you're listening to it. You can leave us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That kind of stuff really helps us out, so we appreciate it there. You can follow us on Instagram at Gear and Beer Podcast. If you like the music that you hear in this episode, there will be links to my music anywhere that you're checking it out in the show notes as well. So until next time, enjoy the podcast, keep jamming, and we'll see you.
Gear and Beer.
Welcome back to Gear and Beer. Today, my guest is Tom Yankton. Tom, thanks for coming, man. More like thanks for having me out here, because I wouldn't be here if you weren't out here. I have some beers for myself, but I do not have any NA. You're like the 14th person that doesn't drink beer on here.
Well,
which is
there you go.
Which is awesome, because beer is good for some people.
And I don't buy a lot of gear either, so it's perfect.
Yeah, you do. No, you've got like your own lane of gear buying that you do.
Yeah.
You like little small pedals, and you seem to have a new one like every time we do a new gig.
Yeah, I like cheap pedals.
I think everybody can get on board with that. Now, there are those collector-y kind of people that are like, I need a real Klon, and I got $6,000 burning a hole in my pocket.
Eesh. Yeah, man.
It's not really for me, but that's neither here nor there, I suppose. Oh.
Can't imagine dropping that on a pedal. But, if you got it, and that's what you want, go buy that Lamborghini.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's whatever.
Good luck hauling an amp in it.
Yeah.
So we're playing out here at Resorts World this week. I talk all the time on the podcast about being out here and playing, and most of that is with you. I've done some with Skinner as well, but most of it's been with you. And recently getting that direct pedal going direct as opposed to using the amp, I think I like going direct more than I like using the Katana. They're not terrible. They're really not, especially if you can run it at a low volume and mic it.
Yeah.
I feel like it falls short if you're ever trying to like push air with it.
Well, it depends on where you're at. If the sound man decides he's going to argue with you before you ever play a note, then he wants to fight that battle before you. It's just not even worth it. Let's get the best direct tone we can, get it in our ears, give the sound man something he can mix with. And a lot of times, if you go out front, if you like look at a video on YouTube of some guys like 38 Special who are using direct stuff, and those guys sound freaking incredible. You tell me you can tell the difference in the front of house, and I'll call you a liar.
No, you can't tell a difference in front of house. Absolutely. I mean, maybe if you got a pod from the 90s or something, and that's your direct rig, you can tell a difference. But these days, you definitely can't tell. I think it all comes down to just like personal taste and honestly a feel thing, because like playing into like a Helix feels a certain way to me. Playing into this UA pedal feels very much more like an amp.
Really?
Yes, in my opinion, it feels like an amp. I don't even know how that's possible, or if it's just totally placebo effect, because it just sounds better and functions like an amp.
Well, The Walrus seems to be that way too. That ACS1
Yeah.
seems to be, and that's not a cheap pedal. That's
Right.
for neither is the Universal Audio thing you've got. What's
Right.
it called again? Ruby.
Yeah, I got the Ruby.
Yeah.
I think Rob Music just got the blackface one, the Dream, and Rodriguez has got one too.
Does he?
Yeah,
he's got
one.
everything. They probably gave him one.
Yeah, that's fair. He was also. Have you? Did we talk about the Evertune bridge? Have you talked to him about that?
I don't recall.
I can't remember exactly what the deal is, and I'll find it and I'll put a link in the show notes. But it's some German guy designed this bridge that you have to carve out of guitar. It's basically like putting a Floyd Rose. It's got stuff in the back of the guitar. It's like a plate and some whatever. But Chris tells me that it's somehow always checking string length, tension, and one other variable, and that it's a totally analog, non-electrified machine, some sort of machine that you can set it to, it'll stay in such perfect tune because it's constantly checking and adjusting that you can there's a way to set it where you can bend the string and it just stays in the same note because of the function of this bridge.
Wild.
It's super wild, and I never think to like fall down that rabbit hole when I have time, but I will be listening to this podcast and getting all the links that I need to make, and then I will not forget this time.
Well, there you go.
It's super intriguing to think of a piece of machinery like that. But anyway, he was saying he had one of those put in his Les Paul, and
well, that would be the guitar to put it in.
Yeah, you're right about that. I've never really had intonation problems with the Gibsons that I've had.
Really?
I've only got one Les Paul, and it's like a 90s studio, so it's like a straight up boat anchor. It's at my dad's house because, it's just literally too heavy to play on Broadway. Yeah. I could play it on Broadway, but there's just no real reason to do that to my shoulder. I've got great guitars that weigh literally half as much as that guitar. They started making chambered one. I don't know what they make them out of. Concrete? Like, what the hell can be so heavy?
I don't know, man.
What's the heaviest wood? Oak? Are they made out of oak?
I've been using these stretchy straps here lately because
the comfort strap or something like that.
Well, it's like I think the first one I had, CJ Wilder gave me one. It was like Levy's or one of those brands and it's like neoprene and it stretches.
I have one like that for my bass,
dude. And the longer you use it, the better it gets.
Really,
the more you use it, it seems like it stretches a little better, and it's so easy on the shoulder. You can play. I've got 10 gigs in this 9-day run, so and I don't think my shoulder will be hurting at all.
Are you really playing at Bakersfield on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that with Generation Radio?
No, that's with Jay DeMarcus, James Otto, and Craig Campbell.
And, okay.
We're just kind of doing like just the four of us probably be sitting there with guitars. And
okay. Four across the stage,
keyboard,
songwriter kind of a thing.
I guess it's some kind of benefit, and forgive me, I don't remember what exactly the benefit is, or if they even told me. I just hey, you want to do a thing in Bakersfield on May 16th? Sure, so.
Well, it wouldn't be a gig if you had all the information. So.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah,
those don't exist.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
So you usually play that Lukather guitar, but you brought out that Tyler a couple of times recently.
Yeah.
How long have you had that Tyler? Because I've never seen it before.
I had that when I started with Rascal Flatts, maybe about 3 months into it, 2 or 3 months into it, they said, "Hey, we're gonna buy you a couple Tyler guitars, and we just want you to pick out what you want. We're gonna have them built." And So they had me a couple of custom Tylers made, and one of them was the Studio Elite HD, which is the red one with the Rolling Stones logo on the thing.
I don't think I've seen that one.
You haven't seen that one? Okay, I've played it with Generation Radio some.
Okay.
But also the orange mongoose. That's called a mongoose. It's like a telly type thing, but
Yeah, that's the one I've seen.
But the shape, the silhouette, is like a Les Paul looking thing.
Yeah.
So it's like a Les Paul telly, and it's got the mini humbucker in the neck and the JTT alligator in the bridge, and it's just the hottest, ballsiest telly pickup I think I've ever played. And
It sounded great.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
The Lukather sounds great too, but they sound very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still sounds like you. I mean,
well,
you're a lot of players sound like themselves. You really sound like yourself, no matter what you're playing through. You're one of those. You're like you got those magic hands or whatever. And what people may not know is that you're also just a complete musical freak on any instrument that I've ever seen you play. So,
get out of here, man.
This is my room. I'm not leaving. I'm sorry. No.
Funny stuff.
I'm serious about this harmonica thing, though. I'm going to start working on it. I tried to work on it earlier today, but I'm still very unsure as to what I'm doing.
Yeah, man. It's like, so.
Do you have a harmonica in your pocket?
Yeah, yeah.
Play a little something for the folks.
Like playing it backwards kind of unlocks everything. So you got, this is a D harmonica, but that's a D chord. And then if you inhale, it's a A chord. Second inversion. And then you got your 7 and your 9. And so you can get all that blues stuff going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's kind of where it's at, and it's a lot easier to bend that way too, and to get that throat vibrato thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of what you're doing. So
That's crazy. That's crazy. I freaking love it. What a cool instrument, and the whole concept is still very foreign to me. But
dude, I think with your knowledge of music in general, and like just you dig into it, I mean, I think you'll get it quick.
Well, I got a lot of things on my plate, but harmonica is one that's very portable. So, and I travel a lot, so I can take that son of a gun on the road with me.
There you go. Yeah, man.
Yeah, but also piano. Your piano playing is amazing and a lot of fun. I think my favorite part is that there's always stuff laying all over the keys while you're playing it, and it doesn't get in your way or bother you at all. There's just like your ears case and a harmonica and a cell phone, and you're just playing
it's my
around.
desk.
Yeah, it is your desk.
The piano is my desk. Yeah.
That is real. That always tickles me, but I find myself doing a lot of laughing on stage with you guys all the time. Everybody's very serious about music and generally silly otherwise, which is how it needs to be to have the most fun, really.
Yeah, I love it, man. I think we got a great lineup, and I think it's. I agree with you. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun just goof around, and and you got all the foundational stuff that's nailed down, and everybody kind of knows their part and what their role is, and then you can just go off the rails from that.
Well, and you do every time. It's like follow the leader, and that's a lot of fun. It's like being on your toes like that, like because for you, I'm sure you're playing a song and something will pop into your head, and then you just figure out really seamless ways to get in and out of stuff too.
Well,
which is cool.
Wow.
And it's not forced. It's
Well, I'm glad it comes off that way.
It really does.
I appreciate that.
I mean, maybe you're just like spur of the moment, just jumping right into it, and I'm sure you are. But you just have really good musical intuition, like most good musicians do and should.
Sometimes from my side of the microphone, like I can't always tell how it's coming across, and I just go for it anyway. And sometimes it, I guess it turns out to be a good decision, and other times it, bad or maybe a mediocre decision or an okay decision or.
I think it's always a good decision.
Okay.
I think it's just sometimes, especially because we're playing to a host of different kinds of people that are there for different kinds of reasons, at least in this casino environment. So it's like figuring out what's going to go over. Nothing may go over. They may not care at all. And other times they want to hear hair metal and Merle Haggard all night. And it's just where are we going next?
Well, what do we got to do to get a response out of people? Like that's my thing. I like get responses out of people. Like, and I guess
that's part of the gig.
Yeah, that's why. Same reason I aggravate my wife so much when we're at home. So.
I do that too, but it's more on accident. I'm foolish.
Yeah. Well, my wife and I do it. To be fair, it goes both ways. We do it to each other intentionally, and it's fun. It's aggravating, but it's fun. And like, I don't see very many entertainers out there aggravating their audience. Antagonizing them, torturing them, musically torturing.
No, they're definitely being musically blessed at all times.
But
at all times, especially with 5 tags of Broken Wing.
Oh, 5 tags. Yeah.
It's amazing how the way you do that song, Tennessee Whiskey, into, I'm not going to give all your secrets, but
whatever. It's okay.
The way that no matter what's going on, if there's people there, everyone takes notice every time, and it changes almost every time the dynamic of the whole room.
Wow.
Because it's just like, it's just like I'm trying to think of a non-perverted way to say it. You're asserting dominance through music over the room. And I know you're not being like, it's not like a blank measuring contest, but it's like just like showing people where they all stand in regards to who's in charge of the room.
Oh, that's funny, man.
It's cool,
but well, it's a fun deal. My wife's calling now.
Cool. Let's see what she has.
Everybody, should we answer it?
Go ahead.
Audience, should we answer it?
Email
Hi,
us.
babe. I'm in the middle of an interview on a podcast. How are you doing today? Okay. Did you get your thing? I didn't know that when I ordered it that's what was going to happen. So I'm sorry. It's at our house still. All right. Here, I'll be right with you.
Okay.
All right. Love you, babe. Then she hung up on me.
Okay, good. Well, it wouldn't be, that's what wives do. They be calling, they be hanging up.
Yeah, there you go.
That's been my
I deserve it. I earn it.
Well, yeah, just like anything else, you got to put in the work.
There you go.
The way you just looked at my computer made me think something was wrong.
Oh, I saw it. It was the what do you call it? The cursor or the
Yeah.
moving so slowly it looked like it wasn't moving. I'm like, are we recording?
Yeah, I just dragged it. Usually it automatically scrolls with it, but I adjusted it so it wouldn't auto scroll. I just want to make sure that it is recording at all times, because there's been more than one occasion, and I forgot to flip the screen around on the camera. So here's hoping that one's still working. But
Yeah.
it would not be the first or the fifth time that one or the other did not end up getting recorded for a segment.
Okay.
So the built-in 30 minutes is almost just like check yourselves,
Yeah, man.
because I definitely have to check every time. And, well, we're still doing
We're 570 measures into this conversation.
good. Yeah, at a brisk 120. So like I asked you or told you earlier that I was going to ask you, like, when did you start playing guitar? Like, what made guitar, or was guitar first, or was piano first?
Piano was first.
Okay, so piano was just like, was it like so many other little kids just like here to play the piano when you're young?
It was like picking up. It was like picking up stuff. My mother and my grandfather both played piano and.
You're from Arkansas, right?
Yeah, I'm from
Arkansas?
Hot Springs.
Hot Springs
and
okay.
Russellville. Both
Gotcha.
kind of Russellville, Dover, Pope County, Garland County. Anyway.
I'm from Garland, Texas. Garland County sounds good.
All right. Well, there you go.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, just picking out stuff, one note at a time, and my grandfather taught me a song. Him and one of the guys, and like maybe I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and I started learning chords 6 or 7 years old. And I played my first song in church on a Wednesday night before Bible study in front of the congregation when I was about 7 on piano.
Oh, wow.
And then I went to this Pentecostal church where in Russellville where they had the wooden pews like you've seen in church before probably, but we had an extra wooden pew down by the stage. And so like if you're looking from the back of the church auditorium down by the stage, there's another pew that runs parallel to the wall. And it kind of faces to the side of the stage, over by where the piano was. And that whole church pew would be lined up with people with guitars, a fiddle, accordion, banjo, just whatever. And there's a bunch of guitar players. And so I started asking these guys, can you show me, I knew what chords were because I've been playing piano. Like, can you show me how to play this chord on guitar? Can you show me how to play started asking questions. And I remember that Sunday night I learned like 3 chords. And
the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, 3 chords and the truth. Yeah. And then I started just figuring out other chords, and I didn't have any books to go by or anything. I just and I started listening to this cassette tape of some of my family members jamming, and it had a bunch of old country songs on it, and I started just trying to figure out those. And if there was a chord I didn't know, I would just mess around with it till I found the
sound you were
that's how I
hearing.
discovered an E chord, or an A chord, So, one thing led to another, and then we listened to mostly gospel and country, and as far as rock, there was like Christian rock, and there was a group called Petra that had a lot of cool stuff throughout the 80s. And
Yeah, I remember Petra.
yeah, Bob Hartman did a lot of cool stuff, and I would cite him as a guitar influence because just as far as on some of the solo stuff, maybe not so much on rhythm, but on solos, I probably steal as much from him as I have from anybody. And then I discovered Ray Flack, who played the Highways and Heartaches record, Ricky Skaggs, and then Brent Mason on the radio.
Yeah.
All those Alan Jackson hits and stuff like that, particularly, and Joe Diffie but particularly the "I'm in Love with You, Baby" solo.
The Alan Jackson tune.
Yeah, the very last solo of the song. Yeah, and
I never learned that one. I should probably learn it. It would behoove my playing, I'm sure.
oh yeah, man, that's a good one. I've been playing that. I've been playing that solo almost note for note since about 1995.
Wow.
And Yeah, it's still hard to play. I don't know if I've ever got it exactly right, but
Nobody in my family listened to country, so I didn't listen to country until after high school. That's the first time I started listening to country. So
Really?
I got a lot of dark periods in the history of country music where I'm just like artists I've never heard of, songs I've never heard, all kind of stuff. But it being the early 2000s when I first started listening to country, I know a fair amount of 90s stuff, but when I moved from the country scene in Texas, from a cover standpoint versus what was being played in Nashville when I moved, was some crossover, but not a lot. First of all, in Texas, you play sets and you don't end up playing nearly as many songs as when you play for 3.5 hours without stopping, usually with somebody in the band playing the song too fast, so you have to play even more songs.
yeah.
That was my experience. People want everything up, and it's like, why? You're just making more work for us. Also, that doesn't feel great. Sometimes you need to push stuff, sometimes you don't. But that's just like tuning down for everything. It kind of is silly to me because every song that you sing doesn't need to be a half step lower. It's some of them. Make those lower, and then everybody can have their instruments set up properly for what they're about to try to do.
Yeah.
And instead, now I just have to have guitars that stay in E flat for when I do downtown stuff in E flat, because I just don't like playing a guitar that's not set up how I like it to play it. It just makes it harder to play.
Man.
For me.
Well, me and CJ used to tune down a whole step to come out to Las Vegas and do 7 days in a row. It was grueling, but
Was that over at MGM?
MGM, but it was smokier, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And playing more hours, and we had the subwoofer under the stage that would just rattle you, so you'd end up maybe theoretically singing harder. And so by Friday, Saturday night, by the third or fourth night of the run, you're already struggling.
Yeah. I can't imagine that the environment for monitoring yourself is very good either. Just wedges, or is there ears?
Ears. I think there was ears, but yeah.
It's just a lot.
Yeah.
It's just a lot.
Yeah, learning how to take care of it better and not push as hard all the time too helps. So now we're back to 7 days in Vegas, but we're tuned standard, and I'm not singing as hard. And two, I used to get off stage a lot and go talk to people on breaks and stuff like that. And talking over the DJ music would be probably as detrimental as singing too hard.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah.
So it's a good idea to if you're gonna talk between sets, go back in the green room. Back then we didn't have one.
Sure.
Now we do.
Now we do. Are you on this side of the building or the other side of the building? Are you strip facing?
Yeah, strip facing.
Okay. Can you hear now the band's playing right over here at Circus?
The air conditioning.
No. It woke me up this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which is fine because I bailed on you guys last night and I just came up here and went to sleep.
That's what I probably should have done.
Was it cool?
I mean,
it seemed loud.
It was loud. It's out there. I mean, it's
just
there's a lot of stuff to see. There's a lot to see.
We're just briefly talking about the transfix art, immersive art thing they got going on.
It's not what it sounds like.
It's not. I don't know if it is or not. I didn't go. Like I said, I came up here and went to sleep like an old person would.
Transfixed, as in you're transfixed on something. Like it's an interactive art thing. And
did you by chance scoot back?
Huh?
Yeah, I did. Back?
Oh, do it. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's also the plane of focus. For
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's all good. You don't have to eat it that much. I just noticed it. It was harder to hear you.
Oh yeah. Transfix. Yeah. It's a cool thing, man. It's a yeah, they got a bunch of stuff out. You would think, I can't even really tell you what it is because it's not like anything I've ever seen before that I would know what to describe. How did it?
It's like, the way I understood it was like, it's like a visual stimulation funhouse, like lights and video and sound and stuff.
Well, there you go. And you've never even been, and you're describing it better than I could have. But you're right on target.
Okay. Well, I looked because the first time we came out here, they were just installing it, and somebody was talking about it. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. I'm sorry, I digress. What we were talking about was vocal straining and stuff like that. So
yeah, man.
But over at the MGM gig, it was like afternoon acoustic and then full band night, right?
Yeah. So
that's a whole bunch,
dude. They would let us swap out on the afternoon shift or whatever, and then
like you do one, CJ do one.
Yeah. So that would help.
Were y'all doing trios or a power trio out there, or was there a fourth?
No, we'd go out there with 4, sometimes maybe 5.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Was Eddie doing it back then too?
Yeah. Eddie and I have been playing together for about 10, 11 years, something like that.
Eddie's great, man.
Yeah.
He's great. He's a great drummer, but he's especially great at like knowing you and what you're going to do and how you want it to be handled. You know what?
Yeah.
As far as like following you, and like we talked about earlier, just kind of following you as you're inspired to change songs to stimulate the audience or whatever.
Yeah. I could just go and he's there. And that's with all you guys though. Like Eddie's kind of like, I might be driving the bus, but Eddie's the engine, and you guys like, it all makes, you guys all make it work. It's just like, I could just start anything. I could start a song in the middle of a song and you guys just get it. And I think a lot of that comes from, our experience in playing gigs and stuff and using our ears and having to adapt and all that kind of stuff. So it makes it fun, man.
Broadway's kind of a good training ground for musicianship if you want it to be. It's also a lot of other things, as you well know. But I do enjoy it, and I still play there a couple times a week when I'm in town. I enjoy it. I'm not trying to like grind it out down there every day or anything like that. Like I would much rather play, every day on something like this with this band as opposed to just hacking it out with whoever calls, because there is a bunch of less than desirable to play with people down there. And the money's not good enough to suffer through that, really. If it was, I would deal with it probably because there's certainly some money to be made, at least every now and again, but that's not something that I could see myself ever doing again, like on a regular basis. For sure. And even on a part-time basis, I feel like time can be better spent to serve the career or my family or my health or my house or whatever.
Well, if you got, man, it's so easy to get burnt out down there, even as great as it is, and it's been a fantastic opportunity for a lot of people.
Yeah, and still is.
There's more opportunity to make, like it's harder than it's ever been to break as an artist in country music. But if you want to make a living, you want to go to Nashville and make a living, there's more opportunity than there's ever been. There's more opportunity in the last 10 years than there's ever been in Nashville to go there. And
You say break as a country artist, you mean like radio, break on the radio?
like radio, yeah. I mean, just make a career out of doing your own music, or make a good living, be able to pay a band, be able to pay expenses, be able to do all that kind of stuff. You know, it's harder than it's ever been. But to go and make a living playing music, there's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity in that town.
I don't know that I completely agree with it being harder than it's ever been. Maybe it's probably harder than it's ever been to become George Strait or Alan Jackson or somebody that, you know, you're talking pinnacle of success kind of artists. But there's definitely guys out there and girls out there and groups and non-binary and whatever people out there doing this stuff. It's really, I guess it's really maybe more about what you define as success. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm certainly not saying that. And I'm not saying you can do it if you suck and your music sucks, because I don't think that that's possible either. But I think there is a way, and I don't know what that way is. And I don't think that anybody really knows what that way is, because the landscape is really changing, and considering the little change that happened from the 50s to 2000, like what's happened between 2000 and 2023 is what I would call extreme change in the landscape.
Well, like, you know, whether you're looking at like a Tyler Childers type artist or a George Strait type artist, you know, I think back in those days, back in the days of, like, okay, let's say Tyler Childers is modern, Luke Combs is modern, you know, so you got like two kind of things. I just pulling somebody out that makes sense. Like Tyler Childers not on the radio, Luke Combs is. Luke Combs is the king of radio now. So, so if you were looking at those two things, you know, back 20 years ago, both of those kind of artists would have been, you know, people voted with CD sales.
Yeah.
People voted with their money, you know, and, you know, they could still buy concert tickets. They could but the way people purchase and consume music and the change you're talking about, you know, it is drastically different. And, I think it's a social media game now. And I think it's, and there's so many.
If that's at least involved in the equation.
Yeah, it really is. It's a social media game and a Spotify game, and so, yeah, and there's so many voices telling you, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to spend money here, you need to promote this, you need to, like, what is there? I don't like.
Well, I think it kind of this is how I think about it. I almost said think about it like this. I'm not telling anybody how to think. The way I think about it is, so who's your audience? First of all, if you don't know who your audience is, you don't know there's no way you'll know how to get to building to your audience. So you got to think about it. The music that I'm making is for, let's just take me, for instance. So I make instrumental guitar-based music for 0.0001% of the people alive today that are interested in listening to that. So those people are on social media, but I'm not good at consistency to feed algorithms and figuring out that whole game, and I don't really have enough time. I don't really want to make that what I'm doing. So I think my approach is who am I making this music for? And it always starts with me. Like I'm making music that I like first, and then like now who else is going to like this music, or how can I do what I like that I can get to somebody? And so for me, I think that means sync licensing, and I had to also write a dive. I have a bunch of other stuff that's not just instrumental it's in the works, and just a bunch. I just like to write and record music. That's what the bottom line is. But I also like to play live, and so radio is never part of my equation. So that takes like the hardest step out of it. So it doesn't matter. I don't need to be both pretty and popular and good and lucky and lucky, you know. But for the country thing, I feel like it's like, okay, what kind of country music am I making? Am I making music that sounds like Luke Combs, or am I making country music that sounds like Kane Brown, or am I making country music that sounds like, you know, Lefty Frizzell? And then I say, okay, this is what it is. And so what kinds of people listen to that? And then how do I get in front of those people? And if that means, if you're trying to be popular with young people, that obviously is going to involve social media.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to target people who have money that can buy concert tickets and can buy, you know, merchandise at the concert, and are the kind of people that would order a vinyl print of your last record or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, so how do you get in front of those people? Because to me, it seems like there's like, as far as the mainstream side of being an artist, it's like, are you making your money by being popular and getting streams, or are you making your money by making good music, finding your audience, and getting in front of them, learning how to get in front of them, and then once you have them, having things like an email list where, you know, you own that. That's not people who follow you and are on social media is fleeting, but an email list, people don't really change their emails very often.
Right.
So if you get people that come to your show and you put them on an email list, which I know I feel like I sound like a dinosaur talking about an email list, but
no, I mean, I
think it's important.
Do this thing with texting.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Texting would probably be more viable now. But you know, doing stuff like that, and I don't know how that works. I haven't tried real hard because I'm real busy playing gigs and you know, doing my own thing, and just I like to use my free time to be creative and you know, figure out what to do with it later. That's kind of where I'm at.
All right.
But I apologize for that rant.
It's all good, man. The other thing we've run into is, okay, as far as figuring out our audience, if any of you guys have listened to my music, like High on That Mountain or Pretty Dang Cool or country music or The Long Way Home or Home Ain't Here No More or...
That's the one that was on Sex Education?
Yeah. Or Sweet Mary. Like, I don't know. Like, it's like, some of it's like, well, Joe Denham described our music as Clint Black Sabbath. It's like, so like, who listens to that kind of music? I don't know that there's ever been that kind of, I don't know if there's ever, like, I've never heard anything like what we do. You know what I mean? So I don't know who the audience is.
Well, so you said Clint Black Sabbath. That means, to me, 30 to 50 year old people that are into classic rock and country. It's like, it's honestly just, you're a current representation of what Southern rock used to be.
Yeah.
Except for you're more diverse because you've obviously got a lot of musical influences, not to mention the amount of instruments that you play and further influencing the way that you write. And I love playing all of that music.
Oh, well, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
And you found at least some streaming success with the songs from the Netflix show. Or was it multiple shows?
It was just that one show, and I'm not sure how many streams we've got on that song, but the ones we've had the most success with are High on That Mountain and Sweet Mary.
Really?
We should probably play Sweet Mary more often.
I'm always down to play those songs. I like that. I like that we start playing that stuff here.
Yeah, I mean, there's no, yeah. Should be playing them originals everywhere. You never know. You never know when it's going to connect. You never, and if it doesn't connect, well, at least you got it tighter.
Yeah. Well, and even if it doesn't, connect necessarily, it's a statement. You're starting the show and you're saying this is like, especially doing like country music and Pretty Dang Cool back to back. Like those are two pretty different songs, and so it just immediately right off the bat just keeps people on their toes.
Yeah,
I thought this was a rock band. This is not a rock. This is not a rock song. When you get to Pretty Dang Cool, I don't know how country it is. To me, it's like almost like Western, like modern swing music or something.
Pretty Dang Cool?
Yeah. I don't even know how to describe it. Which I guess is what you were saying earlier. What do you call this? Has this even been done?
I kind of stole that. My first rock and roll record that wasn't gospel. My first rock and roll record was Creedence Clearwater Revival, the concert. And that was probably 12, maybe 12 or 13. When I got that.
Oh, wow.
On cassette. Eventually I got more of their stuff, but there's a song called Commotion. And if you listen to Pretty Dang Cool, listen to Commotion, you can hear a little bit of that in there. Except I think Pretty Dang Cool is a little faster. But anyway, it's fun stuff.
It's good for the mics to splash it.
Yeah. There you go.
I try to do it only like once or twice per podcast.
There you go.
Your voice, your range, and Fogarty's range. Well, first of all, your range is freakish too, but Fogarty's thing that's like right in your wheelhouse. That seems easy for you,
man. I really dig that stuff.
It's great stuff. That's what I grew up listening to. Creedence and Skynyrd and James Taylor and that kind of shit. And my mom listened to like weirder, softer stuff, but
well, you get out there and you start listening to that, you start mixing that stuff with country, stuff that's obviously been influenced by country to begin with.
Sure.
And
all of it was influenced by gospel before that. So
the first recorded pop music was country. In my understanding of musical history, the first recorded pop music in America was country. Unless I've got something really wrong.
Well, you probably haven't. You're pretty historically smart about that stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. And so you bring it all together, and people are like, well, it's too scary for Sirius XM the highway. It's too it's too far out there. It's too rowdy. It's too this, too that, and then you come back with something that sounds like a radio song. You write something that's like a really, well, that's a great song, but anybody could sing that. So you're just kind of in the catch-22. Like, you got to sound like everybody else, but you can't sound like everybody else. That's what one record label executive told me. You got to sound like everybody else, but you can't sound like everybody else. Yeah, and so in that process of going around trying to, we've been to every record label in town at least twice. Every record label in town at least twice.
That blows my mind. And
not even so much as let's help you out. Let's start you off with a publishing deal and see if we could come up with something that we could get a radio team behind and make it make sense or anything. I mean, just It's just nobody throw me a bone. And so, to be honest with you, I don't know if it's for us or not. I mean, if it means we got to, I don't know, man. Like if I got to do what Morgan Wallen or Dan and Shay or whoever is doing in order to find radio success, you know, is that really what I want to do? You know what I mean? And if I do that, they're just gonna say, well, you sound like everybody else. So what's really the point, you know? We're making a living playing music, you know, and
I don't know that radio is the answer anymore. I mean, if you want to make a bunch of money right now, it's nothing like it used to be. Like you could still make a bunch of money on the radio. I'm not saying that you can't, but after you spent all the money that it takes to get something on the radio, and like all of the gatekeepers you're gonna have to palm grease on the way in, you know, it's like,
oh, dude,
I just feel like there's got to be another way for somebody with as much talent and as much good music as you're capable of. And I am of the mindset right now that finding success through sync is one way that you can make money on your original music, and B, you can potentially use to grassroots some original shows, but like not grassroots like somebody's going to let you sleep in their basement while you play at this coffee shop on the corner. I mean, like you can find enough money by showing numbers, whether it's Spotify or you know where and what your placements are. So my buddy yesterday that I had on, he had a song on first Guitar Hero, and then having a song on Guitar Hero, they paid him nothing. Not a single cent for his song on their game that made them countless millions and millions of dollars. Extremely successful game. Contests, like you remember all the hoopla that went on with that?
Yeah.
It was a big like cultural moment.
Yeah.
And from that, what he did garner was a shitload of downloads and a shitload of streaming and sync placement. And so like it's success. People know his music, and he, you know, still has people. Yeah, he's got decent streaming numbers. He's got stuff that's over 1 million streams. And you know, again, decent is, I guess, subjective to depending on the eye of the beholder. But like, if you can make $5,000 a month off of streaming, like that doesn't take as many streams as you might think. If you know, because here's another part of the game that I've been reading up on too, and I'm sure you're at least familiar with, is making sure you have all your bases covered when it comes to royalty collecting, knowing what all the streams of income from where and when your music is played, whether it's artist revenue, performance revenue, songwriting revenue, publishing revenue, mechanical royalties, all the different stuff on TV, the SAG-AFTRA royalties, and any of that kind of stuff. And like having all that and figuring out where you go to get it, because it's extremely complicated for obvious reasons, so that they don't have to pay out as much money. But there's different agencies and they've tried to like streamline it a little bit, but there's all these, you know, all the different, the mechanical licensing committee and sound exchange and BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, SOCAN, and whatever the other one is. And like none of that, we haven't even talked about anybody that streamed music in a different country other than Canada and the United States. And it's like you have to find all, like there's definitely more out there are ways to collect depending on what you're doing. Like, but I would think that sex education. I bet there's people that don't listen to Spotify in the United States that have streamed that song and
Maybe
stuff
so.
like that. And I don't, I'm not, to be totally honest, I'm not sure what your team looks like and
Yeah.
who all you're working with. I'm just a guy that's lucky enough to play guitar with you.
Oh, dude. Well, we could talk about that, but yeah, it's right now distributions through Red Street, and we don't have a record deal. We've got a distribution deal, but they have not. Nobody has signed us to a record deal, and maybe that is the best path forward for us. Maybe it's to do it independently, and
You'll have complete control over your art that way.
yeah, exactly.
And that's, I think that everything that I just said is all to say, I think if you just keep making the music that you like while considering who's going to like it as well, like that's what else can you do?
What else is there? Yeah.
Make the art and then figure out a way
Keep
to make
making
it
money.
work. And again, it's not easy. I know it's not easy. That doesn't mean it can't be done. That doesn't mean, what you're doing it. You're filling it in with other stuff, and just like anybody making a music and making a
Calendar's
living in
filling up.
music, for sure, and that's great. But just to tie that off before I have to restart the camera, it's unless you're Luke Combs or somebody that has a cult following or a legend act, like if you're making a living in music, like you're doing a lot of things. You're wearing a lot of different hats, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's harder and it takes longer.
Getting it done.
And finding the time to get it done is problematic sometimes.
Yeah.
But like, just keep being creative. That's the bottom line for everybody. So hopefully you're about to have so much fun. All right, the first question, Tom Yankton of Hot Springs, Russellville, Arkansas, is Metallica or Megadeth?
Megadeth.
Finally, somebody on my team. And I actually love Metallica too, but I'm a Megadeth guy. Miles or Coltrane?
Oh.
You're welcome to just pick or elaborate at any time.
Pick or elaborate.
Pick and or elaborate. You can just say one and then we'll move on. But if you have...
I probably know more Miles music. Probably more familiar with Miles.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Oops. Matheny or Schofield?
I don't know jack about either of those guys.
Well, pick one anyway. I'll pick one for you.
All right.
Or
Okay.
David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar?
If you'd have asked me 20 years ago, I'd have said Sammy Hagar. Becoming a front guy and by necessity, and understanding the entertainment value and understanding. I have to say both.
I love both.
Both, man. Absolutely both. Because it's hard to imagine. I mean, just listen to the guy talk and watch him. Just watch it. Like if you watch a Van Halen show online, I mean, you can't go see him live anymore. I had the pleasure of going to see him live at Yankton Pavilion in Phoenix back in 2015. And, man, it's pretty amazing. I mean, you would think he was a nut job, but he's one of the most brilliant people you'll ever listen to speak, Yeah. And
Talking about David Lee Roth.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Sammy Hagar is in my opinion a way better singer, but
Oh yeah. I think that's everybody's opinion.
but like yeah, I mean from musically Sammy Hagar, as far as an entertainer and a character and a guy that writes the right songs, and you know, I just like them both.
I accept that because I also do. Vi or Satriani?
Well, I'm gonna go with Vi because I'm more familiar with him.
That's the correct answer, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah. Dolly or Reba?
Oh, Dolly and Reba. In that order.
Well, I know the answer to this one, but I wonder if you're going to understand why I'm asking this question. Yngwie or James Burton? And it has nothing to do with music.
Well, it's James Burton.
That's the right answer, too. Both notoriously giant dickheads.
Well, James Burton was very nice to me.
I believe they've both been nice to people, but the stories that you hear about both.
Yeah, I don't know anything but what I've experienced firsthand, and
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
he's here's a little James Burton walked up to me one day. We were working on this show called American Supergroup. And he walked up to me and he's like, it's supposed to be 4. Like he was like, what? It's supposed to be 4. And like, I'm like, what are you talking about? Your delay, like 4, like 2, 3, 4. Like he's telling me that my delay needed 4 repeats on it. And I don't know, like, is that just in general, or is that for a particular thing, or what? What are you saying? So anyway, that was the first thing he ever said to me. Like, I don't think I'd even met the guy yet. But anyway,
It's supposed to be 4.
yeah, we got to talking. He was super cool. Eventually, like, yeah, I don't remember what order things happened in that day, but yeah, it was a pretty cool day to get to hang out with James Burton.
He can play the shit out of guitar, that's for sure.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize he played on a lot of that Merle Haggard stuff too.
I knew that. Or I'd heard that. I couldn't tell you what, but I had heard that. What about John Petrucci or Paul Gilbert?
Man, Paul Gilbert.
Both shredders. This is anyone that's listened to this section of this podcast before knows this dumb question. It's a typo, but the question is Geddy Lee or Geddy Lee. That is literally what I have typed out in my notes. How that happened, I got no idea, but it's a pretty obvious answer.
Neither.
Jazz or metal?
Yes.
Now I'm gonna force this one. I want you to pick one. You gotta. It's what you gotta. I feel like there's a right answer to this question. Which one would you pick? For the rest of your life, you only get one. Which one do you want?
Jazz or metal?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was like a Yankton question. For the rest of your, I thought we had moved on. For the rest of your life, you only get one. Which one would you want?
And that's the whole question.
That's the whole question. I only get one?
Yeah, for the rest of your life, in this instance, in this weird world that I'm creating for you in this moment for this question.
If you broaden it to the scope of all kinds of metal, I might go with metal. Because it gives me something that's, I don't know, I do know. It gives me something that's aggressive and hard hitting and also can be melodic and vibey and you can go so many different directions with metal. And I feel like jazz is amazing. Jazz is equally, like, I love them both. Like, if I had to just pick one to listen to the rest of my life, though, I can't imagine my life going out without hearing loud drums and that
Some chugging.
and some shredding and metal's I like music that's a little more in the box. Like, the foundation of the music is a little more in the box. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So.
Oh yeah, it's a thoughtful answer. Hot or cold?
Cold.
Correct. That's the correct answer. Live or session?
Live.
I felt like I knew that one. The answer to that one. As this question is written, 2 single coil or humbucker?
2 single coil.
It's like TO. That's the way I wrote it.
Oh,
for
2
some reason.
single coil. Oh, single coil.
I'm real good at typing, apparently.
Generally humbucker. Yeah.
I already know the answer to that one.
Whether stacked or not,
Yeah. So I know the answer to this. The question is, do you use compression live? But what's that compressor that you're using? Is it a Moore?
The compressor that I brought that I'm not using is.
You're not using it?
No, I don't have a compressor on any of my stuff.
You usually do though, right?
I did for a long time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a little $20 compressor, and it's like one of those, mini $20 compressors that you get off of Amazon, and I just needed something that would fit on my board, big compressor that would squash me a little bit, and I found that going into that Walrus ACS1 that I don't need a compressor. You got a great when the amp is great and you're able to hit it right and you're able to get what you want out of the amp. I don't really need a compressor.
Yeah, you get that natural compression.
Yeah.
Jazz or precision? That's a bass guitar question.
Jazz. Yeah.
I'm with you there.
I own a couple of them.
You do? I've got the 5-string. I would love to have a 4-string. Okay, so I know you're not a gear guy, but you have gear. What's your favorite pedal?
Man.
Think of it like Desert Island pedal. You've got an amp and you got a guitar. What's the one pedal that you would want to have?
Yeah, I've got an amp and a guitar, and I need one pedal. Huh. Well, I've got this Reverend overdrive, and it's old and rusty and crusty looking, and Mickey Sandora hand wired it, and I made him some kind of trade to him for it, and I finally put it on my Generation Radio pedal board the other day. I think that would probably be the one. It's pretty special.
That sounds special.
Yeah, it's it's got the high and low EQ on it, so you got some stuff to work with, and it's pretty awesome.
Hell yeah. What's your favorite artist to listen to? If you had to pick one, which I know is an unfair, I don't know if you've noticed the theme, but these are unfair choices that I'm asking of you. Not to mention unrealistic.
It's hard. That's too hard of a question.
I want a top of your head answer, like you'd give me a different answer tomorrow kind of an answer.
Oh, okay, Toto.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. That's what I'm looking for.
After 5 minutes from now, it's going to be Brooks and Dunn or George Strait.
Fair enough. That's what we're just talking about for the moment.
Okay.
What's your favorite thing to do outside of music? I'm gonna guess probably spend time with your baby girls, and your family, but
being at home with them, man.
So that's a pretty obvious one. Let's say aside from music and family, what's does Yankton like to do?
NASCAR.
NASCAR.
Yeah, that's really the other thing I'm into. I've got a wheel and a PS4, and I used to race online against other people. Now I just kind of race against the computer because I don't have enough time to, I don't have time for anything right now. But
that kind of shit'll suck you in too.
Yeah. I used to really get into it, but yeah.
Do you have a dream instrument, like just something that as a child you thought, like, man, if I get that one day, that's going to be my thing, or something now, like?
Yeah, that's changed. It changes through the years on it. Well, I'd like to get one of those newer Luke guitars. But
one of those what?
Newer Luke 3 guitars.
Oh, okay.
That'd be cool.
What are the changes?
The DiMarzio pickups versus the EMGs.
Oh,
and you got two humbuckers versus 2 singles in them.
And a humbucker.
Yeah. And I don't remember if you can coil tap those or not, but there's a onboard boost on the guitar.
Oh, wow.
And he's been known for having a pretty high output bridge pickup anyway. So if it's like I don't remember how many dB for sure the boost is. Seems like 15, but that seems like a lot.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah. There's no way. Anyway,
there's a way. It just seems like a lot.
It seems like a lot. I mean,
15 dB is a fair amount. Okay, so Luke 3, cool. What's your favorite thing about being a musician? We're gonna wrap up soon, I promise.
Used to be, the people really. I mean, other than the music itself, like the people, traveling, meeting people. I like the whole traveling thing. I'm liking it less and less nowadays, but
been a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? It's been harder recently just due to travel conditions.
Yeah.
Delays and prices of everything, etc. I feel you there.
Yeah, man. But people are great, man. Across the country, like just people's response and connecting. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and that's a good thing about you. You have the open mind. Like, a lot of people are weird about talking to just whoever, and you're pretty good about just talking to people. And like, that's important too.
Thanks, man.
Good on you.
I enjoy it.
All right, I got a couple last questions for you. I want you to, and this is another fleeting, like, you'd give me a different answer tomorrow. That's what I want. Top of your head, 3 desert island records.
Okay. George Strait 50 number ones.
That's cheating, but I'll accept it.
And it's cheating.
How about all the good George Strait songs? No.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get real.
It's a very serious podcast. Let's get real.
I know, right? That's really hard.
It is hard.
That's really hard.
But I want the fleeting. I want just whatever
okay.
you first thought about.
Well, yeah. I mean, Toto 4. Creedence Clearwater Revival, the concert.
I'm going to link all these records for people to listen to. That's
and
kind of
Merle Haggard live at Billy Bob's.
There's 2 of those, right?
There's 2 of them. The first one is the one.
Is that the Motorcycle Cowboy one?
That's the Motorcycle Cowboy.
Yeah, that is a freaking killer record, my friend.
The guitar playing and fiddle playing on that record is...
That's red, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. That guy's a freak of nature. You want to talk about somebody that can do some magical shit with some of the shittiest guitar fingers I've ever seen in my life. And I've got shitty guitar fingers, so I know him when I see him.
Yeah, that's great.
But he's sitting there playing cascade licks with like half a hot dog for each finger. It's ridiculous. I can't do it. That guy's too much. What's the professional accomplishment that you're most proud of?
The professional accomplishment that I'm most proud of is maybe playing the Grand Ole Opry.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Pretty special one. I haven't done it. Not everybody's done that.
Yeah, that's one of the bucket list things, man.
Yeah, I would love to do it someday.
And that whole Rascal Flatts experience was, chock full of stuff like, the Today Show and Jimmy Kimmel and a lot of really cool stuff. So I had to thank those guys for bringing me out on that, man. Those guys were really good to me.
We'll have to do a Yankton podcast part 2 next time we come out there and talk. We didn't even talk about Rascal Flatts stuff, and that's obviously quite significant. So,
dude,
we'll do it. We'll get to that some other day. But that's definitely cool shit.
It was fun, man. It was a good learning. It was a good education, man. You can't really buy it, and you just kind of learn how people tour and how different people in different departments take care of business, and how just how things work. And
yeah,
it's amazing, and you kind of get to see it being with the headliner band. You kind of get to look at it from I'll say this in a condescending way, from the top down in a way, because you kind of get to see you're there for the whole show.
Yeah,
you're there for the whole thing. You're there all day for the whole thing, and
you load in first, you check first, then everybody else comes after that. So you get to see what they're working with.
So, other people might, the opening acts might, play their set and then get on the bus and head out, or whatever. But you're there till the end. You're there from the beginning of the day to the end of the night, and so whenever you wake up, you got access to the, the Live Nation Amphitheater, wherever you're playing. And yeah, man, it's a really cool experience.
Well, I'd say that's a pretty good accomplishment. You're quite accomplished. All right, now the dumbest question of all time. This is called the King's Court. I have assembled a list of all of the famous musical kings that I can think of, and you have to pick one of them.
Freddie King.
Freddie King?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm at least going to read you the list, but he's on there.
Okay.
So the list is Albert, BB, Freddie, Ed, Earl, Carol, and King's X. That's the list of kings.
Okay.
Freddie's the right choice. I choose Freddie too in that instance, but I also like all of those kings.
Okay, yeah, Freddie, still Freddie. I also like King's X though. I mean,
King's X rules.
I mean, I like BB, and I mean they're all good.
They're all good.
I mean, from the ones I'm aware of.
Yeah. You know Earl King?
Earl King.
He's like a New Orleans guitar player.
I'm not very familiar. I don't guess.
He's the one I'm least familiar with too. But somebody turned me on to Earl King, and it's cool. It's like somewhere between BB King and Grant Green.
Okay, I don't know who Grant Green is, but
I'll send you some Grant Green after this, so you can listen to it at your leisure. Yeah, for sure. Grant Green is the shit. I'll link some Grant Green too. I pointed at the computer, but the camera's up here. You got anything you want to promote, or I'm going to link any of your social stuff, your website, where people can listen to your music, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Do you have a calendar on a website or anything?
I do. Go to tomyankton.com.
I'll link that.
And just go to tour, and it should show you some dates where we're going to be, when we're going to be there, and who I'm going to be there with.
Yeah, come check us out in Vegas. Check out Tom online. I'm looking forward to playing some more music with you tonight. Thanks for taking the time to come hang out in my hotel room. And
yeah, we got 3 more nights of this, so
that's true. That's true.
Should be fun.
It's getting hotter outside, so I want to go out there less. So we'll stay inside and do music stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Yankton. Thanks again, Tom.
All right, man. Thank you.
Like, follow, subscribe. Go to his website. Follow him on Instagram, on wherever. Go listen to his music. Go see him live. You can check out my music. There'll be links for everything that I just said that there was going to be links for in the show notes. Like always, until next time.
That's why I said there was going to be links for them.
That, as a matter of fact, if you look in the show notes, at the top, it'll say links. And then if you go below that, you'll find where I've listed several and many links, and you can find them there in the show notes. If you just go to the top of the show notes where it says links.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Gear and Beer podcast. We would ask that you please be sure to tell your friends about the podcast. And if you haven't already, subscribe and follow our Instagram and YouTube channels, as well as liking and commenting on our posts. Are there guests you want to see on the podcast? Topics you want us to talk about, or pieces of gear? Let us know. All these kinds of things feed the algorithms in a positive way and help us gain more traction, whereby enabling us to continue to bring you ever-improving content and guests. Thanks again, Gearheads. We truly appreciate your support, and we'll see you back here soon for another episode of Gear.